It's Trump. He says crazy shit. We know this. We've become so desensitized to him being crazy. Hey guys, what's up? Welcome to another episode of the Doom Scroll Club podcast. We're back with another episode. Calvin, what's up? How you doing?
I'm doing good. It's been a better week. Busy as always with work, but at least haven't been sick. My back has been fine. I've kind of given up on politics and letting that drain me completely. Obviously still paying attention, but I'm trying to, not have that be all I focus on. But yeah, it's been a good week. How about you?
Yeah, same. Haven't had to go to any sort of ER hospital situation. Haven't had a fever. Oh, energy levels are better, getting closer to the end of being on these IV antibiotics. So I'm looking forward to that aspect of my life being done with so I can move on and train again. So yeah, just basically waiting to get my normal life back, but also not trying to let all of the politics consume me. But there's some pretty good stuff to talk about this week. So did you want to dive into the first topic?
Sure. So first up, we have Marjorie Taylor Greene's big announcement that happened. Was it yesterday? Yeah. Basically, she has announced that she's resigning, because, for whatever reason. But she did a 4-page resignation letter, posted it on X on the 21st. She calls Trump's refusal to release the full Epstein files a huge miscalculation, accuses neocons, big pharma, and elite donors of sidelining real Americans, hints Israel Mossad ties to Epstein as her final straw, echoing Tucker and Kirk theories. Trump's immediate response on the 22nd on his Truth Social platform was that Marjorie Taylor Greene is officially done. Plummeting polls, no chance against my endorsed challenger, great news for Georgia, and already scouting primaries for the GI-14. A special election timeline, seat vacant January 5th. I believe she is, so she's resigning officially of January 5th, not rerunning. She had an interview with Steve Bannon on the 22nd. She said, I don't worship any man. America first means the truth, not blind loyalty. Basically, this is her, her pull away from MAGA, which is great in theory, right? For, most of us being like, she's finally seeing the truth, she's finally, the blinders are off, she can whatever. But, we also have to remember this is Marjorie Taylor Greene. So I believe it was AOC who, talked about how like this is all just, the only reason why she's doing this is because Trump turned on her. And so now she's going to stab her, the people that she followed in the back, out of, basically resentment. She's not putting any action forward that is, going with what she's talking about. And I believe I also saw something else that she's conveniently resigning just when she'll get some sort of benefits. I'd have to relook at what it was, but it was, and she's also financially benefited from her current position. So, you want to think that, this is someone who's just finally seen the light and is seeing the truth, but this is probably just more financially, politically motivated, and she's lost, the Trump train that was behind her before. And so it's better for her to just bow out than to try and fight it. What do you think?
Yeah, I think it's because, AOC said that she wanted to run for Senate and Trump told her no. And ever since then, she's kind of been on a mission to basically get back at Trump. And that's what all this has been about. But I think she's still planning to run for Senate, and that's why she's resigning from Congress. So I think this was a political move, as I had kind of suspected. It just reeks of political move because it's a very strong line, and it was kind of, I guess it wasn't like super all of a sudden, but there was a little build up to it. But I feel like the first kind of turn against Trump felt very jarring. And then it kind of just picked up from there, and now we're where we're at. But I think for real, either she has someone working for her that's like a political strategist, or she's figuring it out herself. That, it's not going to be a great thing to be associated with Trump. And she's kind of positioning herself to be one of the first ones who stepped away and all that stuff. Like that's what I think is happening. So I don't think much of it is, maybe some of it is genuine. I don't know. I can't say for sure. No one really can. She's the only one that knows her intentions, but definitely need to stay cautious of all of that.
Well, I think what we've really seen with politicians, especially since Trump's first term, right, is that a lot of these politicians are like play actors, right? They're getting paid by corporations, and so they're going to say whatever the corporations say, and it might not actually be what they believe.
Yeah.
We have a lot of people who, not only politicians, but we've had a lot of like news hosts who will, spew out the most hateful rhetoric. And then the second they're not in those positions, they're like, oh, I love, I don't mind gay people. I don't mind this. I don't like, my cousin is a trans person, whatever it is. But we're seeing that where like their persona is something completely different from what they truly believe, which is just a sign of their morals in the first place, that they would front that way, right? But I feel like it's the same with Marjorie Taylor Greene. I don't think she really believes that Jews have space lasers that are whatever, but it's something that's a talking point and puts her out there and talks to people who are conspiracy theorists. Because you say something crazy like that and they're like, that makes sense, Everyone wants to find a reason for something. So I think, no, this isn't really what Marjorie Taylor Greene believes, or maybe it is what she believes, maybe this is the real Marjorie Taylor Greene and we've been seeing a persona for this long. But that also means that even if this was the real Marjorie Taylor Greene, she can shift at, the turn of anything. But I think the only benefit of this is this might help other people who are wrapped up in the MAGA machine see the light.
Yeah.
Because she's supposedly now pointing out, well, this is wrong, this is wrong, this is wrong. That might be something where even just one person who's blindly following MAGA, who followed Marjorie Taylor Greene before, if her saying this is something to where they're like, well, shit, Marjorie Taylor Greene is saying this, maybe I should rethink something, that could be a good thing. But again, not something we can actually trust.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I think MAGA will continue to exist just with a new leader under, basically being same name, different people in charge. So maybe she's power hungry. Maybe she's trying to be that new leader. I don't think it's going to work for her. It takes a specific type of person, someone who's very charismatic, someone who's literally a cult leader, or someone who has the capability of becoming one. And yeah, so you always got to watch out. I feel like for those people who are super charismatic and just have that, like, whenever you watch a documentary, serial killer documentary or cult documentary, they always talk about the leader having this magnetic, charismatic personality. And unfortunately, it has become this kind of characteristic of people that I just don't trust off the bat.
Mm-hmm.
And that the salespeople have the same fucking personality. And it just ultimately just feels manipulative off the bat.
Mm-hmm.
Which is why I have such a hard time trying to like sell things as a coach, like sell my services, all that stuff. I'm just like, but this is how people manipulate people.
Mm.
And anywho, so yeah, it's just like, we'll see what happens, but
Yeah.
don't trust it for a second. And yeah, so we'll kind of just see how everything unfolds. Should we go on to the next topic?
Yeah, take it away.
All right. So recently, there was a video that was made by some lawmakers about they were basically encouraging military personnel to not obey illegal orders. So November 18th, there was a video that dropped. It was a few minutes long, and it was lawmakers. So Alyssa Slotkin, ex-CIA, Mark Kelly, Navy captain, Reps Chrissy Holunen, Air Force, Jason Crow, who's an Army Ranger, Chris DeLuzio, Navy, Maggie Goodlander, Navy Intel. So they said the Uniform Code of Military Justice requires you to disobey clearly unlawful orders. This is not political, it is your oath. So they all made a video essentially calling on military to not follow unlawful orders. And Trump's reaction was not great. So he said, he literally put out seditious behavior punishable by death. Arrest these traitors now. And he was literally like calling for their death, like after this occurred. And he doesn't realize that they're not telling them to disobey his orders or whatever. they're telling them to disobey unlawful orders
Mm-hmm.
because the military's oath is to the Constitution. It is not to a sitting president. It is not to anybody but the Constitution. So that was basically all they were reminding. But of course, Trump's still calling for all these Democrats to be jailed or put to death. Hegseth said these people are calling for mutiny. There's just, yeah, Republicans are not stoked about that, but they literally didn't say anything. They were just saying, hey, remember your oath.
Well, it's because the administration knows that a lot of the things that they're doing isn't necessarily lawful, or it's really bordering on what the definition is. I've seen a lot. Obviously, a lot of the things that is out there is kind of hearsay, or there's no one's coming out being like, this is exactly what's happening. But there's a lot of hearsay out there that the administration is scrambling because like the stuff that they're doing in the Caribbean, the deportations, the ICE arresting American citizens, all of that is illegal or on that definition of, whatever. So they're scrambling because, that they have to answer to that eventually. So it is that thought of, you don't have to do something that's unlawful. If you are instructed to do something and that goes against the law, if that goes against the Constitution, you have every right to say no. And they don't want that. They want people who are just going to blindly do whatever they say. And then if something goes wrong, then those people can take the fall for it, right? And not them, because then they can say, well, you didn't have to do it. But yeah, this is just another track on that fascism ladder of people expressing their First Amendment right, to talk. And they're not saying we're ordering you not to do something. They're saying this is the law. You don't have to follow something that goes against the Constitution. You have that right. So for Trump to then, not only say these people should be arrested, but to go as far as like these people should be hanged, these people should be put to death is really, really scary. So yeah, I don't know how the Republicans, felt about that. I didn't really see any responses to that. I don't know if you saw anything.
I didn't see anyone condemning it. I didn't. So, that speaks volumes. If anything, I saw them just basically agreeing. At least those ones that are getting paid and agree no matter what. Other ones, they're not as loud on Twitter. They're just not getting as much push through the algorithm. So I don't know everyone's opinion on it. But I feel like the overall consensus was like, nah, it's Trump. He says crazy shit. We know this. We've become so desensitized to him being crazy. And then it's just like, well, at what point is crazy become dangerous? I think we've already passed that line. But, having the president of the United States of America, one of the most powerful countries in the world, call for the death of his own people is a lot. It's a lot to swallow, a lot to take in, a lot to process, and just be like, that's not okay. It's definitely not something that should be even joked about coming out of the president's mouth. It's not funny. It's just being a jackass and a bully. And I feel like it's disrespectful to say shit like that about your own citizens. So yeah, in the same way, I know he could be like, well, I'm super disrespected and Democrats always, shit on Trump and MAGA and stuff. And it's just like, okay, but he's in charge. He's supposed to set the example. He's supposed to be the one for people to look up to, for young people to look up to, all the things. So his title, his platform, it's a big responsibility that he does not take seriously. Not once, though. Yeah, it's shitty.
Yep, I agree. I definitely agree. It's really crazy and scary. But that's what we've seen from this administration is it's outlandish things. The uptick in violence from this administration is just scary. So it's not just him saying something. It's the fact that if he would absolutely follow through with that. Luckily, I think there's still some protections in place that could stop that. But, we've got a lot of people that just bend the knee. But yeah, it's crazy. Yeah, absolutely crazy.
Yeah, legit. That'll be, like a story to continue on with because he's still on one about it. But should we move on to the latest, Candace Owens situation? Because it's getting a little crazier.
Yeah. So, Candace Owens has always been someone who's just kind of out there, obviously a more far right leaning commentator. And we've seen, I want to say it was before Kirk died too, as we were seeing her pulling away from the Trump administration, I believe.
Yeah.
You know, we were starting to see her talking about the Epstein files and
Israel.
you know, Israel. That was a huge one, right?
Yeah.
And then Charlie Kirk was assassinated, which there's still questions about who did that. That's kind of been a big talking point of hers lately, is she doesn't believe that the person who shot him is the person who is currently in prison. I've seen a couple videos where people are asking for like footage of, you know, I think his name's Tyler Robinson, right? Of his arrest, of him going through booking, and apparently there's no footage. You know, there's a lot of, you know, conspiracy things going on, right? I believe the latest that she was talking about was that there's some connection with what country was it? Was it Egypt? The planes?
Yeah, in France,
so there's this other country's planes that, you know, just happen to follow where, you know, Erica Kirk is or something like that, and there just happen to be like, there's usually only one in the United States at a time, and they go to specific airports. You know, it's not just anywhere in the U.S., and it just happened to be at the Utah. There was two that happened to be at the Utah airport when the Charlie Kirk assassination happened. So there's, you know, some, you know, potential connection there. But that has all turned, and now apparently, let's see, a high-ranking French insider says that Macron / Brigitte funded a gendarmerie hit squad via Israeli links because of the Brigitte is trans claims that Candace Owens gave.
Mm-hmm.
And that basically a hit has been put on Candace Owens. I don't know.
Yeah.
The thing is I could totally see that happening. If there is this, you know, whole Charlie Kirk assassination conspiracy, if this is true, if it's, you know, connected to all of these things, connected to Israel, and the fact that she's highlighting it and, you know, turning people's heads about it, you know, it would be really easy for the French government, who is already having an issue with Candace Owens and has been having an issue with Candace Owens, to connect with the Israeli government and put that through. Is it true? I don't know, but I've definitely seen people who have said less disappear. So it's very possible. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think anything is impossible. There's some things that you're like, really? How about we start by reading what she wrote about the information she got of her assassination, or possible planned assassination. Let's see. On what day was it? So November 21st, she posted, "Urgent, 2 days ago, I was contacted by a high-ranking employee of the French government. After determining this person's position in proximity to the French couple, I have deemed the information they gave me to be credible enough to share publicly in the event that something happens. In short, this person claims that the Macrons have executed upon and paid for my assassination. Yes, you read that correctly. More specifically, that the green light was given to a small team in national gendarmerie. I don't know what that is.
I got stuck on that one too.
An intervention group. I'm told there is one Israeli that is on the assassination squad, and the plans were formalized. Again, this person provides concrete proof that they are well placed within the French government apparatus. Further to this point, this person's claims that Charlie Kirk's assassin trained with the French Legion 13th Brigade with multi-state involvement. Journalist Javier Poussard's life is also at risk. This is deadly serious. The head of state of France apparently wants us both dead and has authorized professional units to carry this out. I ask that every person retweet and share this. I do not know who in the American government can be trusted, since this source claims our leaders are aware, but I have more specific information, which is definitely verifiable, should they care to reach out to me. To the brave official in France who did this because they were so moved by the evil of Charlie's public execution to risk their own life, may God bless you truly. Let all be revealed." So that is Candace Owens' latest, like, someone's trying to kill me because of all the information that I have exposed about the Macrons and the French president's wife having a penis. But I think the connection that everyone seems to kind of get confused, that I honestly didn't get at first either. It's not just about his wife being trans, you know, President Macron or whatever, French President Macron's wife. It's because she's so much older than him. that if he is trans, I mean, even if she is trans, like, it would mean that there might be a connection with like this big pedophile ring that is part of the deep state that runs the government and is connected to Epstein because of, the child trafficking. And so apparently Bridget was his teacher back in the
Mhm.
day. And it's kind of gross if you think about the age gap. And, it's gross whether it's female or male, but we don't think about it being as gross when it's,
Mhm.
the female. But if you be like, well, she's actually trans, used to be a dude, then there's like, well, was he like a willing I don't know. It just gets weird. I understand like what she's kind of going after there. It's not about being trans, it's about this child trafficking sex ring situation. That being said, I don't even know if all this has any, weight to it. They
Yeah.
are still suing her over it because we don't know if we don't know if it's true. They've said that it's not. And I saw that they were going to prove that she's not trans by submitting a photo to the courts or whatever. And I'm like, that's a little weird. Is there other ways that you could prove it? Like DNA tests, other things that,
Mhm.
I mean, I know it's not foolproof, but so yeah, uh, that just kind of just has been hanging around for a long time. That was basically her obsession before the Charlie Kirk assassination. She kind of moved on from that to where we're at now. Obviously, she's also veered away from Trump and MAGA due to the Gaza situation and her
Mhm.
pointing out, she got fired. She used to work for Ben Shapiro for the Daily Wire, but she got fired because she was going up against, Israel.
Mhm.
And that was very early on, at least, especially for someone on the right to do. And they didn't like that, so they fired her. So she's been going off on that as well. And it's interesting because she attracts people from both sides
Yeah.
because there are certain issues that falls on more of the left side of things. And there's other issues that fall on the right side of things. And people are like, is she just so fucking conservative that like she's so far right that she circled around, come
Mhm.
back to the left? And it's like, oh, it's a thing. But yeah, I don't know, because there's been plenty of times where I'm like, this lady is batshit fucking crazy. And you're like, clearly she's in psychosis or something. And I can see that, because she sounds paranoid,
Yeah.
like, but that could also be something they're saying to try to discredit her. But at the same time, I've definitely thought those things myself, even before all of this. But, the hard part is she's right on a lot of things where it's like, oh, like nothing makes sense about the assassination and how it
Mhm.
all occurred and why there's so many holes in the story, why the FBI isn't trying to, basically earn people's trust back by releasing more things to like have it be like, yeah, we're doing our jobs, we're still searching, we're doing XYZ, like this is what we found, and all that. It's been a lot of nothing sandwich from the FBI. Nothing has been transparent about this investigation whatsoever. A lot of people have kind of turned from MAGA also because of this, which was the opposite effect of what they
Yeah.
were trying to induce, I feel like. So is she crazy? Maybe, but
Maybe.
maybe not. Like only time's gonna tell, really. So I just really, no one, no one knows for sure what is true.
Yeah.
But Candace is also very, very good at bringing attention to her and attracting people to her content. It's very polarizing. It's very dramatic. It's like a real, a live action Netflix true crime series. Of course,
Mhm.
people are, going to tune in and stuff. And
It's
of
like a little
course,
spy thriller.
right. And of course, she's monetizing it and she's like giving out little breadcrumbs of information each day of the week kind of situation. So, but at the same time, if what she finds is true, like I'm not complaining. I'm not going to stop her. I'm not like she's causing more damage. But at the same time, we're not on the right conservative Charlie Kirk fans or something.
That is true.
What are your thoughts? Do you think she's crazy or do you think like,
Honestly, it's hard to say in this day and age, like because stuff like this, like I would say, you know, 10 years ago, I would just be like, that's just absolutely ridiculous. This is someone who's just crazy looking for clout, whatever. But we've seen so many things, just in the last year where before you would be like, that would never happen. That's not real, especially here. And it's happening, right? So the Tyler Robinson thing, it looks really suspect. It doesn't seem like, it doesn't make sense. It does look like, pieces kind of fell into place very conveniently. But again, we don't have all the information. We're not the FBI, and the FBI is not going to release that information. But yeah, I could see if Charlie Kirk was assassinated, not by Tyler Robinson, and it is some political thing or something with Israel, I could totally see this happening now to Candace because she's blowing the whistle.
Yeah.
But again, we don't know for sure, and that's where it's really hard. It's hard to take something and be like, well, yeah, this is obviously not true, or something happened, and this is now the target's on Candace. Or is it just, you lost someone that was close to you and you can't justify that they were killed in that way? It's easier to be like, make it a huge thing and then feel like you're caught up in it versus some college student was able to pull off an assassination. So yeah, it's hard. I don't know.
Yeah. And again, I think only time's going to tell. The only thing I do know is I do think she's genuine in her passion to find Charlie Kirk's murderer. She is a very fiery, passionate person. And we'll just kind of see where things go from here. But again, I don't know her personally. All I know of her is what content she's put out over the years. And it's, people say, she's a grifter, and she might be, so just like we are with Marjorie, it's just being cautious about what you're gonna believe or whatever. Always look at someone's actions over what their words are. So I think it's just using the same methods to apply to Candace as Marjorie. Watch what she does, consumer content, just kind of see how it unravels, but don't jump on, don't drink the Kool-Aid of anyone really at this point, because no one knows.
Yeah, exactly. I think we're in this day and age, in the way, we've got AI that, can deep fake some stuff that is so crazy. Like, it's hard to say that it's AI on some things, but I do think, we are in a place where you can't take anyone's word for truth, especially if someone says something that seems outlandish. You kind of have to do your own research on it. You can't just take what someone says. I do think, if someone is making an accusation, it is important to take the accusation seriously and look into it. But our country is based on like innocent until proven guilty, right? There's a reason for that. It's because, there are other countries that are shoot first, ask questions later. That's kind of what's happening with our country right now. You look at, ICE, and you look at, what's happening in Venezuela and the Caribbean. That's a lot of shoot first, ask questions later, and innocent people get hurt in that type of thinking. So same thing goes with this. Like, yeah, it's, we're not jumping the gun and like shooting someone, but we do need to make sure that, we are looking at all the facts and all the evidence first before we're jumping in and making accusations as well and pointing the finger.
Yeah, for sure. So on that note, do you want to move on to so the next one that I didn't hear about? This was one that I think you dug up somewhere, maybe TikTok. So yeah, you want to address this one as well?
Yeah. So I don't know all of the information on it because accidentally played music in my headphones. I just started seeing this, so this hasn't been verified, but Olivia Nuzzi's book, I don't know who she is, and Brian Lisa Revenge Leak, basically an explicit poem RFK Jr. sent Nuzzi while he was married to Cheryl Hines, who he's still married to. And it's pretty graphic. It's definitely not something that you would send someone that you are friends with or acquaintances. It is definitely TVMA. I don't know if I should read it on this or if I should just say, look it up yourself. I mean, it's not like completely horribly graphic, but it is basically about, he wanted to, how did he say it? He wanted to
squeeze your
share.
cheeks.
He wanted to share his harvest directly into her mouth. So
yeah, well, he also, this is like, I mean to squeeze your cheeks, to force open your mouth, don't spill a drop. I'm a river, you're my canyon, my love.
Yeah. So not great stuff. For his wife, who has been defending how crazy he is, hopefully this is something that makes her walk away. I don't know. But this was from a sex diary that leaked in 2013 and just resurfaced in 2025. 398 pages, 37 different affairs while married to Mary Richardson Kennedy. Yeah, apparently Mary found it, told her friends before her 2012 suicide, and RFK Jr. blamed her instability in audio leaks, not the fact that he was having multiple affairs and just a piece of garbage human being. But yeah, that's the head of our health department. So
Cool.
yeah,
Pissing in people's mouths,
that or something else. It's hard to say. He did say it was his harvest that he wanted to put in her mouth, so it could be another bodily fluid. Either way,
Yeah, that's fair.
Just going back to last week's episode talking about the potential, Trump and Delane's horse. It's not something I wanted in my head, and now it's there. So,
Yeah. He went from wanting to take fluoride out of the water to dropping other things in people's mouths. So I'll take fluoride for now, for sure. I think that would be my first choice, but other people may choose otherwise, but that's their thing.
I think that's just another piece of this administration. Our administration is filled with people who are just
morally corrupt,
morally corrupt, just morally hypocritical. We have a lot of people who are spouting, that they're very religious and moral, and they go around and do the exact opposite thing. So, if that's the people you surround yourself with, that tells you something. But yeah, I feel bad for his wife. Unless his wife just doesn't care, then she's put herself in that situation. But either way, that's not something I wanted in my head, and it is. And what's even worse is just trying to imagine like his voice saying this stuff. So yeah. I think we should. What do you think?
I hear his voice. Wow. Like when you read that and you hear his fucking voice, it definitely gross just through my mouth a little. I definitely think it's one of those things where, you are who you surround yourself with. And when you look at this administration and just all of the drama in these people's lives, affairs, just being dishonest, whether it's with business or their relationships, and it says something about their character. And that is something to continue to look at when it comes to political people, politicians. That's what they are. When it comes to politicians, you really have to look at their track record, not just in their careers, but with their families, with their personal lives, because that is also very important. It really does speak to who they are and how they're going to operate as a leader. Yeah. So I think that's just something to always be paying attention to, always be paying attention to how consistent someone has been. And so that's about all I have on that one.
Should we move on to the next one then?
Yeah. Did you watch this one?
I did. It's pretty hilarious. So November 1st, the Oval Office had a meeting, 45 minutes with cameras rolling for the first 8 minutes, with Trump and Zoran Mamdani, who is the new mayor. Is it mayor or governor? He's governor of New York, right? Mayor.
Yeah.
Obviously, there's been a lot of discourse between Mamdani's side and MAGA Trump Republicans. There's been a lot of anti-Muslim rhetoric being thrown out there. Just horrible things that, at this day and age, we should be moved past it. But they met, and all of a sudden, Trump is just like a giddy little girl. There's, the videos of them talking, photos, and he's got like the, blushing smile looking up at Mamdani. And, basically he said that there's, we have a lot of things that, we agree on, which is kind of scary. But, I think it's, I'm hoping it's just that, Trump is just bewitched and is trying to, have Mamdani kind of on his side.
Yeah, well, honestly, Trump was a Democrat up until when he ran as a Republican.
Mm-hmm.
So I wouldn't be surprised if they had a lot of agreements on things because he's the one that said he would run as a Republican because Republicans are dumb enough to vote for him. And maybe I need to fact check if he actually said that, but it's definitely been something that's been floating around as a rumor. But he was a Democrat up until more recently. So again, wouldn't be surprised. But also, I think when it comes to politicians, there's kind of how we were talking about earlier, where they're different as public figures
Mm-hmm.
than they are in private as politicians. When they talk to each other, they have to talk to each other, they have to communicate. So I can only imagine the things that they fight back and forth about on Twitter or social media, wherever platform, when they have to meet in person, I imagine it's probably a bit more respectful and different.
Mm-hmm.
So they might have had an actual conversation and then maybe they never had before. And I did laugh when the reporter asked, if he still thinks that Trump is fascist, because he's mentioned that before. And
Mm-hmm.
he's just like, you can tell he's like,
And then
then
Trump's like,
Trump's
yeah,
like,
go ahead. You can
you can
say it.
say
It's okay. He's like all playful. He's like touching Mamdani's arm. It's like, it's absolutely crazy.
I just thought
Yeah.
it was funny. And then but at the same time, fire him, I'd be like, well, I mean, he has said I'm a communist. So
Mm-hmm.
sure, I'll stand with that. It's like they're both calling each other the extremes of like their
Mm-hmm.
parties or whatever. But yeah, I did find the interaction interesting because Trump and MAGA has been so vocally
Mm-hmm.
against him. And you would think he would continue on with that because, well, one, yeah, he's Muslim. Two, he's very left leaning. So maybe it just wasn't the way that MAGA expected for it to go. I did see some people complaining that they did not like Mamdani's demeanor towards Trump. And they're like, you could tell he was just trying to show his base how much he hates Trump and stuff like
Mm-hmm.
that. And I'm like, I probably didn't catch enough of it to really notice that aspect of it.
I didn't notice that. I think, Mamdani seemed more like kind of indifferent. He kind of looked like he was maybe being political in the sense of like, I'm not going to start something. I'm here for the formality. And Trump wasn't barking back at him, so he's not going to bark back at him. But there definitely was a more friendlier tone coming from Trump than I think anyone expected.
Yeah. Yeah. I think so too. So it was probably just a little weird for everyone to see, to well, that was different. I didn't know what to expect there, but maybe not that. But yeah, he ended it though, which I found the most crazy. He, told him or told people that he thinks that he'll do a good job and that he's
Mm-hmm.
cheering for him. And I think that was like, what? Because did
Yeah.
Trump not just like call for the death of Democrats? Like, how many times has he called on, either like jailing or death or etc. on Democrats this year alone?
Mm-hmm.
I feel like it's enough to start a drinking game over quite a few times. I'd be drunk
Yeah.
by now for sure.
Yeah. Absolutely. It's definitely a bit of of like a whirlwind. Just I don't know. It's crazy. It's scary and crazy because part of me is it's just ridiculous that he's being all lovey dovey with Mamdani, but then there's that kind of scary like voice in your back of your head being like, well, what if Mamdani is like more whatever than we think? Who knows?
Yeah.
So there's kind of that like, I don't want them to get along because they shouldn't get along. But I think if anything, it's funny to see how the mad Republicans are reacting to that. It's been kind of hilarious.
Yeah. And I think when I think of, oh, they agree on some things, I think, okay, he's Muslim, so he's religious, so he has certain viewpoints. Is it trans people they agree on?
Mm-hmm.
Are they like, we don't like the LGBT people, especially the
Mm-hmm.
D? Maybe that's why I don't discriminate. I don't like any religions. I always say that.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just as hesitant to put, a Christian into a leadership role
Mm-hmm.
or some sort of politician role, whatever. Like having Christians, even if they say they're Democratic or whatever, still makes me nervous. There's that one guy, James Tellerico or some shit in Texas. He's running for Senate. I like him a lot. But it does still kind of make me nervous that maybe under the surface, he holds certain viewpoints
Mm-hmm.
that are still anti-trans, anti-gay, whatever. He has not shown any of that whatsoever. He's shown to just be his actions and words have been in line. But It's so hard to know. I always question and worry. And honestly, Islam and Christianity are not as different. I think they're so similar. That is why they clash.
Mm-hmm.
Because they're both fighting to be like, we're the only one true religion. They're like, no, I am. And, so the thing that I hate the most is the hypocrisy when it comes to Christianity and stuff, where they want freedom of religion, but they would not hesitate to take the rights away from, any other religion and be like, no, you can't practice this. It's bad and all that stuff. And it's just like, well, freedom of religion. They're like, no, we're a Christian nation. It's freedom of, Christian religion, essentially. So yeah, I hate that part. Like, at least I have not seen that come from anyone who, practices Islam, at least in the US or whatever. There's always extremists. There's extremists in, I feel, well, maybe not religion, but at least on both sides of Christianity and Islam. So yeah, they have some very, depending, I think there are progressive Muslims. But there's also the strict ones like Christians, and they're very scary to me, the way that they don't even give women rights, like, at all. And they would, murder someone for being gay or trans. And so you're just kind of like, that's a lot. Of course, I'm going to be hesitant.
Yeah.
So it's not about skin color, it's about religious beliefs.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's okay to have religion. It's okay to, find something that kind of gives you purpose and whatever. But when it comes to certain positions, whether it's, the medical field, whether it's the judicial field, whether it's the, politicians, you have to be able to separate your beliefs from what you're doing. You have to be able, like, you can have a moral constitution, but you also have to know where that needs to end when it comes to, planning rules and keeping peace, right?
Yeah.
You have to be able to be like, well, I don't believe in abortion. That's against my religion, but I can't force my belief on something on other people. And that also, I mean, Christianity and the Muslim faith is about, helping people. That's like, you're supposed to take care of your neighbor. You're supposed to, be selfless and give with love. And we see how religion is constantly used to do the exact opposite, and people justify some of the most horrendous violent acts because of their religion. So yeah, it's scary. I think electing a socialist to run New York City was a huge thing. I know that we have, I think, one or two socialists running for California as well. It'll be interesting to see if Mamdani is able to make some strides in what he campaigned on and see how that affects other states, and if they'll try and push for things similar. So we'll see.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, should we move on to what we're watching?
Sure. I guess I can start because I've been watching the same thing. We've been just catching up on Stranger Things. I think we've got 2, maybe 3 episodes left of season 4, just in time for season 5 to come out next week. And yeah, that's pretty much all we've been watching. I think we're going to probably watch some Christmas movies tonight. We're start decorating our house and kind of getting into that mood. By the time this posts, it's already going to be the day after Thanksgiving. So yeah. What about you? What have you been watching?
Nice. Same. Top Chef. That's about it. I mean, we finished that All Her Fault series on Peacock. That was like, there's definitely parts of it where you're like, that was weird and kind of lame and cheesy. But there's also parts of it where you're like, oh yeah, that was good. So if anyone needs something to watch on Peacock, no one ever looks there. So maybe go on a little adventure, download Peacock and find something semi-entertaining to watch. But we'll probably start getting into Christmas movies as well. And I know Stranger Things is something we're looking forward to. So there's a lot of good stuff coming in the future. And I think there's a lot of things that usually come out around this time of year. So it's lots of things to watch, which is great. We need it with all the bullshit that's going on in the world. So yeah, nothing super exciting. I know I did watch a documentary about this kid who went on a fishing trip with his mom and then supposedly was out at sea for a week, stranded in the lifeboat, and he was rescued, but then it didn't make sense. And then he was eventually arrested for his mom's death. Like, they think that he murdered him. But it's also kind of iffy because he was definitely autistic. And
Mhm.
so they were reading him or trying to read how he responded to things in ways that just don't apply or make sense if someone is autistic.
Yeah.
So there's this question of, were they just making him, the scapegoat because
Mhm.
they didn't like how he was responding to things and they didn't consider his autism? Or was he actually guilty and maybe people don't want to believe it because they want to think he's just got
Innocent.
autism and
Yeah.
he would never do something like that. So it puts you in the jury seat. I love those types
Mhm.
of documentaries. So that one, if I could remember the name of it, would be really helpful for people to find, but I apparently have forgotten. But it is on Netflix, and I know that the thumbnail has like a boat on it. It's like, I suck about that, not knowing the name. But if you remember the name, put it in the comments. Yeah. But yeah, so that's it. Anything else we should go over before we wrap things up?
No, I think that's it. It's been a pretty slow week. Obviously, there's a lot of stuff happening, but it's hard to cover everything. And we're going into the holidays, so it's going to be even crazier. Hopefully people have a good Thanksgiving if you celebrate Thanksgiving. My family, we don't necessarily, we celebrate Thanksgiving, but it's not, it's more of just an excuse for family to get together and eat some food. So yeah, I'm excited for that. And I know you'll probably be cooking the whole Thanksgiving.
Yep, I'm cooking. It'll be, Des and kids and her family, my family. So it'll be good. Oh yeah, I was gonna say, what is your favorite Thanksgiving dish?
Does dessert count?
How about
Main course type
main
or
course and then we'll move on
sides?
to
Main course definitely turkey. I like turkey. I take it back. I would say probably my favorite thing is the leftovers. I love having a leftover sandwich the next day. Unfortunately, I don't cook the dinner my grandma usually does. We go to her place, and so I never have leftovers for the next day to make a turkey sandwich. But I love the combination of turkey and some stuffing, and I love cranberry sauce. I kind of love everything: mashed potatoes and gravy. My family's big on candied yams, so like that. But kind of the star usually for Thanksgiving and Christmas is my aunt makes a homemade cheesecake that's just to die for. So that's kind of everyone like stuffs their face, and then like we're all like ready to explode, and then the cheesecake comes out and we're just like, oh, we're just gonna have to force it because it's so good. But yeah, I liked everything. Yeah, what about you?
Yeah. I mean, if I'm gonna, of course, honestly, turkey is, I feel like, not great, and we've created a sport of trying to make it taste great for Thanksgiving because it's always this tutorial of how to not make a dry turkey.
Hmm.
And, you know, although I have gotten to the point where I can not make a dried turkey because like culinary school and shit, but it's still not something I ever crave.
Hmm.
It's great on Thanksgiving. It tastes great with
Hmm.
the sides specifically, but turkey
Yeah.
without the Thanksgiving sides is usually not something people are like,
Yeah.
unless it's like a turkey club sandwich. Of course, that's delicious. But it's all about sides. So I love actually a combo, kind of like, your sandwich probably, but my favorite combo is actually putting turkey, mashed potatoes, sweet potatoes, like with the marshmallows on top, and then
Hmm.
some cranberry sauce, and put it all together in like one bite, and you have this sweet, savory, bitter kind of just deliciousness. So that's a really good combo that I enjoy together. But yeah, if it were yeah, I really like probably potatoes. So mashed and
Hmm.
sweet potatoes. Dessert, I'm not a pumpkin pie fan, to be
Me either.
real. It's kind of
Can't do it.
boring. Yeah, I like apple. I'm more of a fruit pie person versus custard based. Yeah, but what's your favorite Thanksgiving dessert if you had to choose?
Well, the cheesecake is the
Oh,
favorite, but if we're
yeah.
going by traditional, um, I probably I'm not a big pie fan as well. At least we have a place out here, up in north called Apple Hill, And I've had they have like a caramel apple pie, which is
Mm,
probably the only apple pie where I was like, that is amazing. I would eat that. But I'm usually not. I'm not a pie person. I don't like pumpkin pie. Every year, my grandma makes like 5 pumpkin pies and then tries to send them home, and I'm like, I'm not going to eat it. So my wife
right,
has to eat the whole
right.
pie. But yeah, I would say, you know, if I had to choose a traditional dessert, I probably would go for an apple pie or something
Same.
like that versus a pumpkin pie.
Same. Just apple pie just has so much more flavor and
Yeah.
texture differences. Like the pumpkin is just so one note. It's soft
I end up
and
eating more of the whipped cream than I end up
same.
eating the pie.
It has to have whipped cream. Otherwise, it's
Hmm.
just way more boring. It's just
Yeah.
not my favorite. I love a Dutch apple pie with like the streusel on top.
Hmm.
Some people find it to be too sweet, but I'm just like I have a sweet tooth. I fucking
Hmm.
love that shit. So that would be my ultimate, I think, favorite. There is the Costco pumpkin cheesecake situation, which I will definitely do
Hmm.
over just plain pumpkin pie. I do like that. Mm, I would still prefer an apple pie, but I would do
Yeah.
pumpkin cheesecake over regular pumpkin.
Costco does know how to like lay it down with that pumpkin cheesecake though. That is,
They really do.
yeah, it's really
Yeah.
good.
Plus, also, I feel like with Thanksgiving, if we could just go straight into Christmas cookies, I would be fine with that. I love cookies. They always win over for me if I had to choose any dessert. It's always cookies. So I'm just like Christmas sugar cookies, chocolate chip. Like there's just cookie
Hmm.
season, right?
Yeah.
So that's coming. Gonna get nice and fat.
Especially with you not able to go to the gym.
I know. By the time it's really cookie season, though, I'll be able to hit the gym again. So
Yeah.
hopefully it'll be okay. If you want to let us know what your favorite Thanksgiving, like main side and dessert is, or if you like a combo like us, leave it in the comments. Would love to know how you like to do or eat your Thanksgiving. And
Do you do one thing at a time? Do you like eat all the sides first individually and then go for your turkey? Or are you like Cody, which I should try, and you just take a little bite of everything all together and see how those flavors complement?
yes, yes, but don't mix them all together. That's another thing. Like I like having all the foods
Hmm.
separately, not mixed together,
Yeah.
by like taking a little bite of each.
Hmm.
But then I also like the option of eating it separately. If I just want to buy
Hmm.
mashed potatoes, like I don't like one bowl. Like I don't like bowl foods unless I'm getting like
Hmm.
a Chipotle bowl, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I like everything not mushed together. Sorry about that. In case anyone wanted to know, I don't like my foods mushed together. Do you like your foods mushed together?
Nope. They
Cool.
have their
Tell
own
me.
place.
Yes. All right. So yeah, let us know if you like your foods mushed together or what your favorite dishes are for Thanksgiving. But thanks so much for listening. Follow us on Instagram if you're not already at the Doomscroll Pod on Instagram. And yeah, any last words, Calvin?
I'm ready for turkey now.
Hope everyone had a great Thanksgiving and you're gearing up for Christmas. We will talk to you next week.
See ya.